No, this is not my Superman movie review because apparently I'm the only person on the planet who hasn't seen this movie yet. Over the past 24 hours or so, we've seen a flood of reviews and reactions for James Gunn's Superman. And this has led to this movie being considered certified fresh with both critics and audiences on the garbage tier site that is Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I've personally spoken about the legitimacy or lack thereof, as well as the irreparable damage sites like Rotten Tomatoes have done to film criticism a lot on my channel. And now a lot of people seem to be chiming in and suggesting that these scores for Superman are being influenced by paid reviews. Based on the situations I've seen with other movies over the years, I think the reason behind these scores is a little bit more complicated than that. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I just want to start this video off by saying I do not ever recall a situation where so many people were allowed access to a movie that hasn't been released yet. I don't know if this is a somewhat new strategy that WB is taking with this movie, but here's what I do know. On a day-to-day basis, you never really know if people are going to be praising Rotten Tomatoes scores or telling you that they mean nothing. And this is mostly because, like some of the reviews on the site itself, the people reacting to these scores are doing so through the lens of their own personal biases as well. When it comes to Rotten Tomatoes historically, for some unknown reason, some people look to these scores to validate them. If the critic score does not validate them, they will brush that score off and say the only thing that matters is the audience score. If neither score tells them what they want to hear, they will write off the entire site completely. Hypocritically, those same exact people will jump back on the bandwagon the very next time Rotten Tomatoes validates their feelings on yet another movie. So what we have is this revolving door situation with people consistently exposing the fact that they are not capable of thinking for themselves.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
I used to do a series of videos on this channel called Film Criticism is Dead. And the general idea behind those videos was I was going to be pointing out the obviously disingenuous reviews that get factored into Rotten Tomatoes scores. Now, to be clear, I never really bought into the idea that these people were being paid to say these things about these movies. I just always thought it was pretty clear to me that there was some kind of ulterior motive or agenda behind the way some people review movies. And this, in effect, made a lot of these reviews that make up these scores almost impossible to take seriously. To me, if you are able to think for yourself, you can pretty easily tell when someone is being genuine about their feelings on a movie and when they are not. If they only use the same tired buzzwords in their reaction or review, it makes it sound like they are pretty much reading a script that was hand-delivered to them by the studio. Alternatively, we've also seen negative reviews that show a very clear personal bias against a movie or a director or a studio when a so-called critic makes their criticism about everything except the movie itself.
Why are you the way that you are?
We also have the issue of fanboys masquerading as critics on sites like Rotten Tomatoes, as well as other platforms like YouTube and Twitter. These are people that use words like peak or cook a lot and offer nothing in the way of genuine film analysis. These people typically bring next to nothing interesting to the conversation, but interestingly enough, these are the same people that were allowed to see Superman early. So on the subject of do I think people are being paid to say nice things about this movie, I would say not exactly. What is more likely happening is, first of all, WB is being very selective about the people they invite to these screenings, because they are only going to invite people that they know are going to talk about the movie favorably, more or less.
That makes sense.
On top of that, there is the added incentive of being invited back to these events or screenings that could influence the way that people talk about the movie they are seeing. And we know this happens because we actually have people who have been in these situations who have spoken out about it. Like John here, who recently said in response to these controversies, there's nothing wrong with anyone being skeptical of critics or influencers who are hand-selected by a studio to see their movie first because they think they might get favorable reviews from them. That's only logical. He also said that he has seen critics massage reviews in the past to maintain access to the studio. I did a video when Barbie came out, a movie that was also produced by WB, by the way, and I encourage all of you to go check that video out because it was one of those news stories that I feel like didn't get enough coverage and everyone kind of conveniently ignored. In the article my video was based on, an actual critic talks about how they were denied access to the movie in favor of influencers basically taking their seat. You see, it's because the marketing firm knew that these influencers were going to say more favorable things about Barbie than maybe the critics would. There were also insinuations in this article that people who attended this screening were encouraged to share only positive reactions on social media.
You're pathetically predictable.
It's all in my video if you want more details on the situation. But is it possible that WB is using a similar strategy with Superman? Here's what I've seen so far. A lot of the positive reactions seem to be coming from influencers and the social media accounts that you would expect to glaze this movie. And on the flip side, I've noticed that a lot of major publications, as well as some pretty well-known critics, have been a bit more mixed or even negative on the movie. The legendary Richard Roper gave it a somewhat ho-hum review. Empire said that the movie has a lack of humanity, originality, and cohesion, meaning that the movie just doesn't work. Entertainment Weekly said the film cannot rise above its overstuffed plot. IndieWire called it an overcorrection and a Man of Steel movie too silly for its own good. And on the flip side, we have influencers and fanboys reacting like this.
Let's go!
Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I'd much rather prefer a more in-depth analysis that breaks down both the pros and cons of this movie from a filmmaking perspective, as opposed to a bunch of fanboys praising the film because it is the most comic book movie of all time, whatever the f*** that means. Now, I'm not saying that those people can't have their opinion. They are reacting as fans would and probably should. But we also need to acknowledge that they are looking at this movie through fan goggles, which makes their opinion on it from a critical perspective a bit harder to believe. It should be noted that an actual critic who has an X account took offense to the whole critics get paid conversation, and understandably so, but her response also kind of indirectly confirmed what a lot of people are calling nothing more than a conspiracy theory, when she said that we as critics are barely invited by studios to screen these movies, all but confirming the influencer theory and calling into question the legitimacy of those early reactions.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
And this goes for any film, by the way, not just Superman, but it does seem to be happening a lot more with this movie. I think no matter what way you look at it, it is very difficult to take early reactions seriously if you are, again, able to think for yourself. On the flip side, I do think there are some people who are being influenced by these influencers into believing that a below average or even bad movie is better than it actually is. And because of this rush of positivity from a hand-selected group of people, when someone like myself finally gets to see the movie and gives an honest opinion on it, we are typically attacked and told that our opinion doesn't matter, or that we're just trying to go against the grain and go for hate clicks. Once again, it's toxic positivity that is being initiated by the studio itself.
Something very familiar about all this.
I stopped doing Film Criticism is Dead videos a while ago because I didn't want it to come off like I was attacking people that I didn't agree with, because that wasn't the point of it. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking about bringing it back because I know the real reason that I was doing it. The truth is that these fanboys and influencers masquerading as critics make my job a lot harder. And they are quite literally killing the spirit of film criticism and discussion, and I believe that they deserve to be called out for it. and so does the studio as well. Now obviously I cannot speak on the quality of Superman just yet because I have not seen it, but just so you know, when I do, it won't be the same type of phony reaction that you get from some people who are more concerned with what swag they get or access to the studio than they are preserving the art form of cinema.
Y'all be cool. Right on.